And a very good evening to you, and welcome to today's edition of Politics 101. David Hinds here, of course, with you. And this week is Emancipation Eve. This weekend, the English speaking Caribbean would be observing 184 years since the end of chattel slavery, and all over Guyana and the rest of the Caribbean, the rest of the English-speaking Caribbean, there would be observances, and we will get in on some of that as we go through the week. But welcome to the Tuesday edition of Politics 101. Busy weekend. The president and vice president are in Washington, D.C. The word is that they've been summoned there by the Americans. They met with the Secretary of State of the United States, and they're meeting with other high officials in the US government. As I said, there is lots of speculation that they were summoned there by the US. And while they are there, the FBI officials, we understand, and other top officials in the region, Latin America and the Caribbean, are visiting. And they met today with the Attorney General. We understand that they've either met or will meet with the opposition leader. And we saw in the news the Attorney General complaining to the FBI about overseas-based Guyanese or Guyanese living in the United States, who they claim are inciting racial hostility and other alleged offenses. We are familiar with that charge by the government, which is trying its best to get these shows on social media, which have been playing an important role in exposing the overreach of government. And now they are telling the Americans that these shows are inciting racial hostility and terrorism and all of that stuff. It's interesting to see and to hear the government crying. Even as they are trying their best to initiate their own social media programs and being hostile to the opposition. We noticed Mr. Jagdeo, the vice president, has sued Mr. Su for $50 million. Quite interesting. I want to welcome everyone down to Politics 101 tonight. We're going to have quite a show. We have an all-women cast tonight, all-female cast tonight. we're having some new faces. We will have Miss Robin Simon back. She belongs to the Quindon Bacchus, Justice for Quindon Bacchus movement there in Golden Grove. She was here a couple of weeks ago. She will be back tonight. And we're having two new ladies, Miss Shanika Hinds from the People's National Congress, PNC. And we're also going to be having Member of Parliament, Miss Nima Flew Best. Remember when we left last week, Thursday, we highlighted Miss Bess, Miss Flew Best, rebuke of the Minister of Public Service, was carrying on about the government outreaches and saying it was endangering, quote unquote, endangering the opposition. And Miss Flew Best had to give her a lesson on the role of government, the basic role of government. So we're going to have those three ladies tonight. They'll be joining us in a couple of minutes. So please share the link. And let's prepare for them. We're going to be talking about issues in the news, of course. Welcome if you're joining us from the diaspora, from the United States of America, from Canada. Those of you who are joining us from Europe, in particular the United Kingdom, welcome down. Welcome if you're joining us from South America. And of course, those of you in the wider Caribbean, Antigua, St. Lucia, St. Vincent, Trinidad and Tobago, Barbados, St. Martin, lots of our people there. And of course, those of you at home here in Guyana, you're joining us from the quarantine. I see Mr. Morgan is early. Welcome if you're joining us from the quarantine. New Amsterdam, West Coast Berbice, East Coast, Georgetown, Linden, those of you from the West Side, and of course, those of you out there in the Essequibo region. Welcome to Politics 101. We're gonna be having quite a show here tonight. So please share the link. And while we get our ladies set up and ready, excuse me, oh gosh, my allergies are killing me today, but we've got to keep going. Welcome, Desiree from Maryland. Welcome. You all remember a few weeks ago, the president, Mr. Irfan Ali, the person who holds that office, unprovoked, called me some names. He was in Buxton, Lyman, and I was passing, and I was saying to my fellow villagers that they have a visitor. The gentleman heard my voice and came towards my car and called me names, and then proceeded to say that I don't know who I am playing with. In effect, threatening me. And when the president of a country threatens you, you ought to take it seriously, because I'm sure he wasn't threatening me in an individual capacity. He was threatening to use the power of the state against me. Listen, in all my years of politics, I've always turned my face against the politics of personal abuse. I've never called people names. My politics are a politics of issues, not names. I don't get into that. But the president, Mr. Irfan Ali, called me names. And for the first time, I decided, look, this man is the president of the country. He ought not to be at the street corner calling his opponents names. And I decided to break with my tradition of not engaging in the politics of personal abuse. And I decided to put him to his place on this program. It was not an easy decision because, like I said, that's not my politics. Freddie Kissoon, who used to be my friend, has over the last 2 years libeled me, defamed me, abused me in his column, called me all kinds of names. Lawyers have approached me to file lawsuits against him, libel suits and so on, and I declined because I don't get into the politics of personal abuse. And so I declined to go after Freddie Kissoon for all this stuff, all the libelous and defamatory stuff that he has written about me. Because I decided that I was going to be bigger than him, and I was not going to get into the gut. I don't even answer him. But Irfan Ali is not Freddie Kissoon. He's the president of Guyana. And I decided that if he's going to poke his finger in my eye, I'm going to poke back my finger in his eye. Because he needed to set an example for the rest of the country and not to drag the presidency down to calling people names unprovoked. And I wanted to make an example of him so that he never does that again. But it seems that as if I touched the spot. Some bigwig PPP people have been calling me and asked me to let it go and leave him alone. Leave him alone. The Guyana Times, one of their columnists, the eyewitness who is not a dunce. The eyewitness writes a lot of stuff about me and the WPA and so on. And in yesterday's paper, the eyewitness said this, and I'm quoting from the Guyana Times eyewitness. Whatever one may say about Walter Rodney, he was not vindictive, like, say, Burnham. The latter's own sister said he had a certain dark strain of cruelty. Some claiming Rodney's mantle are imitating Burnham rather than the great man. The great man is referring to Rodney. So they say Rodney was vindictive. Well, they probably know Rodney. But I am vindictive, and I have a streak of cruelty like Burnham. This man called me names at the road corner. He's the president. I don't get into the politics of personal abuse, but I answered him. You shove your finger as president in my eye, I'm going to shove my finger back in your eye. And now his people are saying that I'm vindictive. All of them who been calling me names, I haven't been vindictive against them. Maybe I don't think that they deserve the honor of vindictiveness. Maybe I don't think that the Freddie Kissoons and others who have been calling me names deserve my attention and my time. Maybe. But the president called me names from his bully pulpit as president. He forgot that I got a bully pulpit too. I remember the great Harry Sobers saying he went to Australia to play, and Dennis Lilly, who was a fearsome fast bowler, was bouncing him. And he walked down and he said to Dennis Lilly, I can bowl fast too, because you know Gary Sobers did anything with a ball in his hand. He bowled spin, he bowled fast. And the president used this bully pulpit to poke his finger in my eye. He forgot that I got a bully pulpit too. So now his people are crying and begging me to stop being vindictive to the president. I must be like Walter Rodney, who wasn't vindictive according to them. So they're saying that Walter Rodney would attack, poke in the eye, and don't poke back your finger in the eye. I don't know what Walter Rodney they know, but if they want to say that Walter Rodney would take blows and don't blows back. That's what they're saying. I'm quoting again. Whatever one may say about Walter Rodney, he was not vindictive, like say Burnham. The latter's own sister said he had a certain dark strain of cruelty. Some claiming Rodney's mantle are imitating Burnham rather than Rodney, the great man as they call Rodney. So I am being vindictive. After this man cussed me out of the road corner, and I decide to cuss you out back. So I'm being vindictive. Well, I hope he has learned this lesson and that he doesn't go to the street corner and call another political opponent names. And his people need to talk to him. And I'm very glad that the effect that I wanted, my, what they're calling my vindictiveness, to have, it's having. I will now go back to my normal politics, which is not a politics of personal abuse. But I needed to teach that gentleman, that boy, a lesson. And I'm glad that I've taught him a lesson. And I don't care if you call me vindictive or you call me worse than that. But he must not go to the street corner, drag down the presidency, and call people names. Good. Please share the link. Please share the link. Tonight we're going to be rolling with some ladies, 3 of them. Miss Robin Simon, Miss Shanika Haynes, and Member of Parliament, Nemo Flubes. Miss Simon was on a couple of weeks ago. The other 2 ladies are coming on to Politics 101 for the first time. But on Thursday, you all remember, I featured Miss Flubes. And the other side vexed with me because their minister used the English language wrong. We are going into the communities and it's endangering you all. Use the people words right. I'm a teacher. Ms. Flubes rebuked her and gave her a lesson on the function of government. Basic, anywhere in the world you go. The basic function of the government is to look after the welfare of people. You give them road, you fix the road, you fix the ball field, you're not doing them a favor. You're not doing them a favor. That's the basic function of government. But the issue is not your outreaches, but the people in Region 6 didn't send and call you. The people in Region 3 didn't send and call you. You went there and you performed your function. The people in Buxton, you only went there because the people of Golden Grove marched down God's road. And the people in Buxton had a protest event in which others from around the country participated. And you then run to Buxton. And you're going in Parliament and oh, like it's endangering you all. First of all, you use the word endanger wrong. But you went to Buxton, you give them a tractor. You went to Region 6 and you give them a whole training school to train them so that they can work in the oil and gas industry. You went in the interior and you give the interior people plenty tractor. Plenty tractor. You give Buxton 1 tractor and you're going in Parliament and skinning your teeth, kiki. You repair a ball field or promise them to repair a ball field in Buxton. You went to Region 6 and you give them 2 stadiums. Who you all trying to fool? Who you all trying to fool? So, MP Flubes had to put that little girl to her place. We don't call people little girl and little boy easily. And I don't mean young people. Those of you who grew up in villages and grew up in, poor communities know when we say there's a little girl or there's a little boy, what it means. So Miss Fubes had to put that little girl in the place, she pampers it in. Yeah, we are endangering you all, you're affected by it. So we do as we do on this program. We bring people on so that they can help to flesh out the news for us. They can help to give us some perspectives as they do. And they always are saying, well, where are the women or where are the young people? Well, tonight we get a mixture of women and young people who are going to deal with the issues. Extrajudicial killing. 2 PPP ministers called me, David, man, you all see the police trying. Look, they charge somebody for Quindon. They charge 2 other people for obstructing justice. Look, they discipline a man for giving the order to follow Aubrey Norton. Look. The boy from your village will get burned up. We discipline 3 policemen. David, man, we trying. And my answer to those 2 ministers was, look, my brand of politics is when you smell progress, you don't stop. You want more. Because you all didn't do those kind of things in the police force because you all want to do it. We make you all do it. And so our duty is to make you all do more. And you all are doing the barest minimum because we're still asking, what happened to the other boys or men who were standing there or who were there when Quindon got shot? What happened to them? Who gives the order? You all are fooling me. So I told those 2 ministers, if you're calling me, don't call me again to make me a fool. Don't call me to tell me back off because I'm not backing off. I'm not doing anything illegal. I'm doing what I've spent my adult life from the time I was 15 years old been doing. And that is to fight for justice, especially for poor people, because that's where I come from. I lived in justice. My auntie used to work as a maid in some Portuguese people's kitchen, and she came home every day. And she said, even if I got to wear 1 underwear, she said more flowery than I said it. If I have to wear 1 underwear, you're gonna go to school because I don't want you to work as a maid or a handboy in anybody's yard. So don't call me to tell me stop fighting because you're all doing some little thing. You're all trying to fool people. I want to get me into that. No, I'm not into that. I'm not into that. My politics are not about negotiating. There are people who good at that. Who good at the negotiating thing. I'm not good at that. My politics are a politics of justice. Here the link, we got about 20% more seats in the audience. And I want you all to show some politics 101 love tonight. Because I love you all. You all love this program. And you all love the guests. The last time Miss Robin was on, she moved some of you all to tears. Because she spoke from her heart. Lots of time in politics, you know, we talk about politics as something in a dispassionate way. I like also to touch on the passionate. What it means to be a mother. What it means to be a mother. What it means to be a mother in a Guyana, that you go in the market, you go in the shop. Not what it means to be a politician, what it means to be a mother. The human element. And for us, it's emancipation. For African Guyanese and for Black people in general, the issue from the time of the Middle Passage has always been about our humanity, our equal humanity, what it means to be a human, what it means to be a human being, what it means to be a human being, not chattel. Good night. Bye, bye. Mr. White from Grove. Janet, good night. Carol, I know you're calling we. I know you're coming on to the show from somewhere. Welcome to Politics 101. And so I'm ready now to cede the stage to my sisters. You know, there is a conversation going on right now. The Ministry of Education apparently got a document, and they say we are a land of 6 people: East Indians, Portuguese, Chinese, Amerindians, Europeans, and Blacks. And Nigel, London has taken them to task. Priya Manichan, the Minister of Education, said she'll pull the document. Because here's the story. Chinese, Portuguese, Amerindians, and so those are ethnic descriptions or descriptions of ethnic groups. Black is about racial identity. Our ethnic or cultural identity is African, like East Indian, like Amerindians, African, East Indian, Amerindians, Chinese, Portuguese. Those are ethnic or cultural formulations. They describe our ethnic identity, our cultural identity. Black is our racial identity. Amerindians are called red people. You all know the red Indians. East Indians are called brown people. Portuguese are white people. Chinese are yellow people. It's called the color code. So there are 2 identities that we have: our racial identity, black, white, yellow, red, and our ethnic or cultural identity, African, Chinese, Portuguese. Obviously, the person who wrote that document and know the difference between race and ethnicity. So they lump the 2 together. And it's right to point out to them. But you know, some of we Black people then say we mustn't use the term Black. It's disrespectful to Black. And you know, no. If you give up Black, you're giving up Black is beautiful. You're giving up Black power. You're giving up Black theology. You're giving up Black philosophy. You're giving up Black sage, and so on. We mustn't react. Black is our racial identity. and African is our cultural or ethnic identity. Remember Peter Tosh said, no matter where you come from, you're an African. No matter where you come from, so long as you're a black man, you're an African. He's recognizing both elements of our identity. So not because they use black wrong, you almost show a black. Don't do that. Don't do that. Yo, little politics 101. Time to roll. Good evening.
Good evening, Dr. Hinds, and good evening to your viewers.
Wonderful, wonderful. And, good evening, Miss Hinds. You got on mute.
You and your viewers.
And good evening, Miss Simon. You have to unmute. Miss Simon, you have to unmute. Unmute.
Good evening, everyone. Good evening.
Ladies,
Yes,
good evening.
I did
Welcome
unmute.
to
Good
Politics
evening.
101.
Thank you.
Thank you
I
so
hope
much.
I hope I
Thank
didn't
you.
chase you. I didn't put you all to sleep or chase you all away with my early things. But I'll start with you, MP Flubes. You were featured here last Thursday, rebuking that little girl in Parliament, and teaching her the function of government. What motivated you to get on our case?
Thank you again, Dr. Hinds. Let me say that my participation in politics derived from a passion that I have grown over the years. And one, experiencing the 23 years of depression that the last PPPC administration has caused upon my community, Mocha Arcadia. I started to get active since then. But what struck me with the minister's presentation, we always talk about the hidden language. Persons would say things, but the body language says something else. That is what I saw. I saw a different message being sent from not what was just coming out of her mouth, but how she was doing her facial expression and all of that. And I could not resist because I know personally for me, when I took the oath of office as a councillor first in my community, I take seriously the words of the oath that I took to serve people without affection or ill will and to the best of my judgment and ability. So I know that I have a serious responsibility. And the issue that we have with this current administration is that we have a whole host of installed ministers serving people without taking into consideration the oath of office they've taken. So when they do things for people in the community, they feel that they're doing a favor. It is not a favor. That is the responsibility. That's what you signed up for. And I thought it was necessary for me to remind the Honorable Minister and all the others who sat there and those persons sometimes who think that these people are really doing them a favor, that it is their responsibility to do so. And I will always hold them to that. I will hold them accountable to that. And I want to encourage the viewers and those who would hear us after this, don't allow any minister to turn up into your community and operate as though you're a beggar or you're such a needy person that they just come in to dash some handouts to you and give you. We're all Guyanese and we're entitled to enjoy the resources of this country.
Shanika, you're a relatively young woman. And one of the things that we have grappled with in this country, and certainly of late, is the fact that young people seem alienated from formal politics. I mean, not that they're alienated from politics, but the party politics and so on, they seem to be alienated. What is it that that has driven you? The first time I think I encountered you was during the election. I think you worked on that campaign. And I think I saw you at the campaign at headquarters on uh,
Crown
Lara
Street.
Street, right? And you were there with a set of young people. What is it as a young person that has made you break out of that seeming alienation from formal politics and get involved?
Well, for me, I'll start by saying, for me, it is a passion. It's something that I have lived among, and I have seen so many injustices during that period of the 23 years that the PPP government was in power prior to 2015, that it definitely drove me into politics. I think my curiosity came around age 10, between 9 and 10. I was a student of Sacred Heart Primary School at the time. And if you understand, during that time, basically every day there was a protest on Main Street, which targeted State House during that time. And as children, we were always very inquisitive. And despite we were told to be in school, sometimes they would lock the gates when there was all the ruckus and the tear gas spraying out there, despite the school was that close. We would venture outside and we would hear things. I would have that age experience a bit of tear gas because I was what Guyanese term it, you fast. Your
Right, right,
parents
right.
sent you to school, but you went out.
And you're talking there, of course, about the 1997, 98
1997,
protests.
1998 protest. And it was baffling to me because I kind of, from the house I came from, I suppose, and what I was hearing on the street, I kind of understood the injustice people were feeling at that time. And it baffled me to why a government would be so heavy handed rather than looking into the issues. And I think that was my first push into it. And later in life as well, I was a neighbor to Saturday Saw. I saw what happened to him. I was a part of that protest with my family the day Donald McKinnon got killed. Johann C. Douglas, which was a household name to us because I played basketball in secondary school. And, you know, those things pretty much pushed you into wanting to understand. And for me, I wanted to do something about it. I didn't want just to experience it and talk about it, but for me, developing a political life and being a part of it actively for me is the biggest impact in some extent that I feel I can make to such situations, because I've seen so much firsthand because of my interactions with my family and what was there. And I it is, it bothers me to see that we are, after making what I would deem some amount of progress after 2015 in pulling the police force together. And I'll tell you, even, you know, as a child, a newspaper was something that in my house, my dad would try to buy every Sunday. And when we were in that period where I say people talk about curfews, we talk about the pandemic and a curfew, but in my teen years and my younger years, I remember a self-imposed curfew because of a government that we had, where people were afraid to venture out of the house or allow their sons after 6 o'clock on the road. And I remember seeing the newspaper with the Lusignan massacre. And the one that hurt me the most, and I think that image has stuck with me beyond anything that I've seen Saturday Saw murder with my naked eyes, his body. But what stuck with me as a young person was the image on Kaichor's front page after the Lusignan massacre, where a mother, a father, and a young girl, look no younger than 12 or 13, was shot to their heads, execution style. And those images don't sit well with me. And at that time, I was pregnant with my first child. And I think that at that point, I made a very conscious decision to pursue it and to go into politics and to see how we can make these changes. So I went forward to study politics as well at the University of Guyana and that kind of stuff. And I'm here actively participating.
Yeah.
Thank you. Actively participating, our life's experiences, socialization in the home, socialization at school, seeing what's happening on the road, the becoming a mother leads one into political activism. And that's what we call the organic activists, as opposed to people who come into politics as a career. And as you listen to these two young ladies, you hear them make that distinction. Robin, let me bring you in here. 3 years ago, a journalist, a reporter, journalist, called me and she asked me what, how I decided to become an activist. And I was struck by the question because she didn't ask me why I became a politician. She said activist. And then she pointed out to me that the people from my party, our party, the WPA, the press refers to us as activists, WPA activists. They don't say members. For the first time, I looked down and I said, but there is a distinction between the activists and the politician. And, as I've been visiting Golden Grove a lot, and people, have been talking to me, and I'm going to let some secrets out. Most of them had said to me, Robin is an activist for a long time. And I didn't get to ask you this question last time. How do you come to become an activist? Are you aware that you are seen as an activist as opposed to a politician?
First of all, thank you, Mr. Hinds, for having me. Welcome, ladies, once again. I never knew I was seen as an activist, but me being born into a family of politicians and a mother and a grandmother who always had the people's interests at heart, I think has helped me to blossom a little more into the feel of humanitarian, speaking up for the rights of others. It's like a passion now. It's more a passion to me because of my four parents and my family. It's more a family thing. But I did not know I was being seen as an activist. And if so, I like the name. I like it.
Yes,
I
yes,
like
yes.
it. But it's a family thing, Dr. Hinds. It's the heart, passion of the heart from my family.
Your
That
family.
is what, yes. It's
And
the
your
need
your
to see
family,
good.
your family has had ties with the PNC, long ties, I understand.
Long ties, Mr. Hinds, from my
Yeah,
mother. My
yeah,
grandmother was once the mayor of Georgetown, Beryl Simon, and then my
yes,
mother, who also most of the when Haslington was gave 1964 gave birth to Haslington, right? Because most of the people that are living in Haslington came from Enmore that
yes,
started Haslington. And
yes,
this house, my mother's house, this same property that I'm living, had the meetings and YSM and the former President Burnham and the Prime Minister at that time, Hamilton Green, and everybody came here. This was the meeting area for a whole lot of work that was done, developmental work that was done during the PNC time. So yes, it's in my
yes.
veins.
And I had the privilege of being part of a team that interviewed your mother about the movement from Enmore to Haslington. Um, we talked to her at length and very moving. She, I remember, broke down in tears,
Yes.
remembering.
Yes, because we lost an uncle.
Yes,
Yes.
yes, yes, yes. Um, uh, Miss Flu Bess,
Yes.
let me come back here to you. The Bank of Guyana has said that cost of living will double by the end of this year. The finance minister is refuting that, but this is not a private bank that says so. This is a government bank
Yeah.
that says so. You're a mother. I spoke with you. I shared a platform with you a couple of weeks ago at the Market Square, and I
Yeah.
remember you saying that you are a mother of 5 kids.
Yes.
I remember it well because um, when you're a mother, as I said in the introduction, um, there is something about mothering that brings you face to face with the economics of the society. Um, the rest of us can be very lyrical about, cost of living and inflation and all those things. But as mothers, you all come face to face with it in a human way. Talk to us about the rising prices in the last couple of years since the PPP has come back to power and of how that is impacted on households. And the same question for you, Shanika, then Nima is finished. Yes.
Yes. But I can tell you the prices in the market are really crazy. If a family works with a budget, if you go this week and you're able to pick up a black plastic bag with food items for your household, I can guarantee you that the next Saturday you visit the market, you probably will go with half of that plastic bag of items. You know, as the representative for the East Bank, I would visit all of my communities as often as possible and interact with people. And I know that there are mothers who are really, really struggling to provide just basic food items to feed their families. I recall doing a particular visit and I observed, I took some biscuits to share, and I observed a child eating this biscuit so clean. I was looking for the crumbs in the plastic. And on my investigation to find out, what's going on, I recognized that the child really didn't have anything to eat at all until that time of the day when I visited. So could you imagine what is happening to the average home in Guyana when it comes with the prices going up and down? This week you go for milk, you might pay $880, and I can tell you, I drove the entire East Bank um, Wednesday before the debate in Parliament on Thursday, checking every supermarket on the East Bank as against all the cheap shops that the wives would have identified where they usually shop and why. And I can tell you, Dr. Hinds, from the time I started driving from Eccles and got to Mary, all the prices went up by $200 for everything. And we're talking about the same day of shopping. From Eccles, from the Chinese supermarket in Eccles, all the way to Timeri, as you drove through the East Bank, every shop you stopped, the price went up for something. And that is especially the supermarkets. When it comes to the regular cheap shop, the local Guyanese business, like they have Trinidad border, persons talk about shopping there. You have another guy in Grove. They have a chip shop in Mocha Arcadia that provides services for people. What the housewives are saying to me, we have now shopping wholesale in bulk. The housewives are coming together and going and buy the onion, garlic, the cheese, and all of that. And then they sit and they would separate it as per household. That is the reality on the ground when it comes to providing for the family. And I can further tell you, I have a child with developmental challenges. So I can tell you, any parent who is dealing with a child who has any form of disability or challenges, the prices in the market is not only double, it triple when it comes to taking care of a child that has any form of challenges. So it's very difficult. And it's embarrassing to know that you have an administration that keep pointing out that they cannot do anything for the people of Guyana.
Shanika?
Oh,
It is absolutely, absolutely ridiculous. It is mind blowing to sit and listen to the government of a country who is benefiting from oil resources on more than one level. I know they don't like to say that they get 50% of profit from the contract that was signed, but they are. The royalties that they receive, and the fact that oil prices are this high currently worldwide because of the same crisis we are talking about in terms of what may have drove food prices up worldwide. For a government who is receiving all of that and going to parliament to ask for a supplementary of billions of dollars, and nothing in that supplementary talks about easing the burdens of families who are grappling with these high prices, is unimaginable and unconscionable for any government who speaks about one Guyana, understanding that the majority of the population can barely afford the main things: sugar, oil, rice in the market. Local fruits are more expensive than the imported fruits currently. You are talking about something like plantain
Yeah.
that has become so costly, and they can sit to tell you that there is no way they can do that. But we hear them talk about concessions here, there, and everywhere at 25,000, at 30,000, a slack of I can't remember the word, the cements that they're promising now that housing knows nothing about. But the basic need of every individual when you get up in the morning is food, water, something to put on the table. As a mother of three, I I I think that I may be better off than a lot of families out there. And if I am finding it this difficult,
Yeah.
it bothers me to imagine what others are dealing with 6 and 7 children in a home without a father figure to bring an extra dollar into. And you have sugar, something that is done here in Guyana. We know the billions of dollars that this regime has pushed into sugar, not prior to 2015, and the previous administration as well would have put into sugar, and that they have pushed into sugar between 2020 August to now. We talk about a packaging form, and the president of this country has the nerve to say, one, there is no shortage of sugar, and then we receive an explanation of not being able to package enough sugar when you just spend billions of dollars on a packaging site. And now you're also coming to parliament to say you want to relocate that site. Tells you about the inability of this current government to perceive, to plan, or I should say, the inability of this government to have a vision, to plan for it, and to execute in such a critical time. You have the Speaker of the House shutting down a motion to discuss cost of living, where
Yeah.
every single country that is dealing with cost of living issues are sitting in their parliaments to
Yeah.
discuss it not as enemies, but as a way to
Help the people.
allow persons to benefit, so it is not as hard. They see it as an opposing something. It is not the coalition supporters only who are feeling the punishment of low cost of living. Their supporters are feeling it as well. Guyanese of every strata of life is feeling high cost of living. And it is apparently a non-issue to a government that parades on a PR campaign to announce every 2 seconds a giveaway here, a giveaway there. But the very basic, let's start, we in a country like Guyana, our public service arm is very large. 7% over 2 years with a high cost of living and moral money. In January, when they presented the budget, their team was the biggest budget ever. And we're punishing as a people. This cannot be accepted. I don't think Guyanese should sit down and just take this easily, because the truth of the matter is, every time they come with the 25,000 or whatever, like the MP said, it is not a favor that they're giving us. It is our taxpayers' money that they're using. And at this point, the only persons who are benefiting from that money, quite frankly, is the friends, the family, and the cronies of the PPP in every single project that they push. And it is now beyond. I've been traveling the regions with the leader, and we're doing outreaches even on the East Coast. And what we're seeing is not just that you're punishing coalition supporters or perceived coalition supporters, you are punishing everybody who are in a class that you deem is below you. And it cannot be accepted by any of us. It is time we stand up and deal with it. Because if we're going to be doubling the cost of living by December, I don't know what will happen. And especially, I don't want to go into that part. I guess you'll get it, but when you allow this level of pressure to build on families, there are other things that will ricochet because of it. And as a country, we cannot afford it. As a people, we cannot afford it. So we need whoever is in place, and it is the PPPC who have been installed in this position, who are clearly incapable of handling state business, that needs to be put in check so that we can all benefit from our resources.
The punishment of cost of living. Before I go over to Ms. Simon, I just want to say that just before coming on to this program, I got a call from one of the members of our emancipation group in Buxton as we are planning our activities. And we do a lot of cooking because on the 1st of August, we quote unquote have a feast in the village in which we cook and share food to the elders and the children and so forth. And I got a call from one of our members who said she went to the lady who would make mabi, and she's saying the amount of mabi we need may have to be curtailed because she can't get sugar. She can't get sugar. And it hit me that even though emancipation activities would be affected by this cost of living, we already have had to double our budget here in Boston. And I want to remind my audience, you're still accepting contributions. Some of you made contributions on Thursday. Please, we are begging, we need some contributions to help us to offset the expenses for activities. We've had to double our budget. And men like myself are coming face to face. We're not in the kitchen. We're not the ones who go to the market. But here we are sitting around a table, planning something that we have done every year. And the cost of living hits you in your face. And so one of my members called and said she went to Miss Patsy Doctor. And she said she may not be able to give us a moment of hobby that we need because of sugar. And she said, Dr. Hinds, please mention it on your program tonight. And I said, I will. Robin, you in the movement there in Golden Grove, you're working with a lot of young parents, young mothers. They are in the forefront of the movement there. And as you all are protesting, you all must be talking about the cost of living. Imagine wherever women, wherever mothers meet, cost of living must be on their mind, on their brains. Talk to me.
Dr. Hinds, first of all, I must say before I go into this, if the government of the day do not have the vision to take this country forward, there is no way we can have a balance. They are not thinking about the poor people because they are benefiting more than any one of us in this country right now. So when we sit as mothers, yes, we discuss about the cost of living because some of them have children who are in school. They do not have fathers. They're single parents. Some of them, their kids are still going to school at present. They have to find lunch, breakfast, still study about dinner. They have to study about snacks. Children are home. It's vacation. It's summer. Children eat more. So they have to spend more. And what is worst of all is that salaries did not go up. So the prices in the market has gone way above any other price, higher than a pair of shoes. And the salaries did not, it's not touched. So how do they bring about a balance? You know what, Dr. Hinds, even as much as we want to be out there protesting and we have to find meals and all of that, it is even hard now for us to even get basic donations because people have to provide for their own. People have to hunt for their own. It is important that I take care of my own first before I give out. So contributions, even to that, is hard to get right now. So cost of living, it is a sad thing, and it is sad that the government is not paying attention to the poor people more so. They're not paying attention to Guyana as far as I'm concerned. They have no vision. They cannot see what is happening because it is about greed. It is about satisfying themselves, their families, their friends. It is about them. So nobody else matters. As far as I'm concerned, there is nothing much we can say, but we have to try and fight and try to see how we can get to change all of this.
Yes, and as Shanika said, we need to stand up. Guyanese, we need to stand up. This is not just a partisan thing. This is about life. This is about children. We need to stand up. This is about children. This is about children not being able to get the basic necessities. You know, young children, the whole issue of nutrition is so important in their growth. Miss Flubes talked about children who are challenged and how the cost of living impacts on the family when they have to deal with that. Let me shift gears here, Ms. Flubes, and I mentioned that I have been called by a couple of government people. who were saying that we should step back and ease up our criticism of the police and the way they have handled extrajudicial killings because they're making an effort and they're charging people and so forth. And we need to ease up our criticism of the police because they are making an effort. Ms. Bess, and this is for all three of you, but starting with Ms. Flubeth, do you agree that we should step back and ease up?
No, Dr. Ice, I don't. Before I make this final comment, because I have to run from where I am,
Yeah.
I want all of us to know, especially our people out there in the public, it's not about those in authority or those who sit in parliament. We all have to come together to stand up and speak out against the injustice that we see taking place in society. The police force have not been doing a good job, and I can give a quick example. I was sitting in my vehicle parked one day. The engine was on. The driver of the vehicle exited and told one of the officers, take out the picture and see who sit down in the vehicle. I don't know if that is a part of policing. I also had an incident where I saw the police drove to stop a cyclist by turning the van across the road without care or consideration for the oncoming traffic. I don't think that is policing. And there are several other cases or incidents I can cite that I would have seen the police involving in activities that they should not. So I would like to call on all of Guyana. We have to hold the police force accountable for their actions. They took office to serve and protect us and not to make us afraid and scared of anything. And so, as a people, I want to encourage you tonight. We have to stand up and speak out against all injustices. And so, I thank you tonight. And thank you, wonderful ladies. We have a lot in common. Thank you, Dr. Hinds.
Yes, and thank you for coming on. I know you have to leave a little bit early, but we make sure that you come back because
Sure.
there is a lot there. The Peter Headley matters in your jurisdiction. So you have first-hand experience of dealing with extrajudicial killing. Thank you so much for coming on, and you will hear from me shortly. Shanika, extrajudicial killing. You think because the police charge Mr. Denobriga that is enough? Unmute.
It's definitely not enough. You know, I think sometimes persons tend to think that Guyanese, and we do make that statement sometimes. We say that Guyanese, they forget quickly. But I honestly don't think we forget that quickly. Because the issue of extrajudicial killings, as you know, and I have mentioned when I started this program, is nothing new to the Guyana Police Force. We have endured it for many years under the PPPC government prior to 2015. And, you know, I think one of the reasons why we as a people need to push more, and I think why persons have come out in the issue of Quindon Bacchus's execution and the work that the team and the villagers would have done would have forced the police to do something. I will say something because obviously there is a lot more that needs to be done, and not just a situation where you decide in a little room, oh, well, we can let this one go for it, you can go for it, don't bother the rest of them, we can cover them. When we say we want a thorough investigation, and when you speak of justice, you speak of, in every context of that word, the family must receive justice. where not just you charge somebody or a couple of persons who are around an incident, but every person that was involved. I heard the president using the term intellectual authors, and I was shocked because we would have used this word many times before. And, you know, it was like if it was a made up theory, but he used it when he talked about the protesters going, and he claimed that they caused this ruckus, and I say claim and allege in Monrepo, and that he wanted the intellectual authors of that protest and what came from it. But I want to also tell them we want the intellectual authors as well of the killing of Quindon Bacchus, of the killings of Mr. Boston, and every other person who suffered the same fate under the Guyana police force. And until we have all of that and all the persons involved, then you're telling the families that you're going to give them something to ease their minds, because I would never call it partial justice. And that cannot ease the mind of a mother or a family member or a villager who would have witnessed something like this and understand where it comes from, because the people on the ground doing a better investigation than the police. They will not accept it. And you will not be able to quell the fears and the possibilities in the minds of people, and more so young people, because every time, almost every time these situations happen, it is young persons who are at the blunt of this. They are babies then left without fathers.
Mm-hmm.
And it creates a ripple effect in our society. The things that we're seeing now, and you know, they talk about who is a Dunstug and this. I want to remind the PPP. 1997 to prior 2014, or let me just bunch it together. 1997 to about the 2008. Check the ages of the persons who were probably 6, 5, 4 at that age, what they are now. And the issues that we're seeing is a ripple effect from what you did to the society. You created these issues because you left persons and children without father figures. And we have a system that, you know, you have systematic racism, as I will call it, that helps to push these issues. And until we address it from the root, we are going nowhere. And when you continue to have political directives in a police force operation, you cannot quail the people and you cannot lull their feelings, because it will always be said that they did not receive justice. And you know, it is said every time you have these issues, if you want peace, there must be justice. If you're not looking to provide justice, then you're comfortable with these situations. And the government needs to get serious about it, and especially in this time, because what I think and I hope that they're realizing, this period is not like 1997 to 2008, where unless you are directly involved, and we had much more activism then as well, you didn't know what was happening. We have social media. Everything that is happening, somebody got a little video. And that is why the issues that came up with the Bacchus execution would have been pushed forward so quickly, because when they speak, the cameras and the evidence suggest otherwise. And bearing that in mind, they should be willing and ready to take serious action to correct the issues within the police force. But from what I'm seeing, even with the situation, they said that they're charging a police officer, because I don't think they charged the 2 young men who followed the leader. because, I mean, you can't charge somebody for following instructions, and they were very clear. Thank God for camera, that they were caught on camera saying that we're simply following orders. But you blame the man second in charge of the region, who does not have the authority to make that level of pronouncement. I don't want to dare to push to say, but I want to tell people this. When we see these situations, even with the Quindon Bacchus situation, check to see who are the persons that are being shielded. Even in the situation with this following now, they're saying they're charging. Check to see who is the commander of the division that, in my view, is being sheltered. And this should tell you, you have a government who definitely they're involved in politicking inside of the police force, and they have no intention of seeking truth or justice in any of these cases. And you know what bothered me on the day of that protest? I can't finish my statement without making this point. And it tells the whole moral for me of the government. The president of the Cooperative Republic of Guyana, Mr. Ifrenali, sat on his couch the morning of the protest, and he said to the protesters from his couch that your protest is unwarranted because they have charged or they have started the process to bring to justice the person who is responsible for the killing of Quindon Bacchus. And I remember him having the same vigor I have right now when he sat on that couch and he's saying, it is unwarranted, and he went on. The people of Golden Grove decided that they were going to take a stroll down. However, what happened, because I don't want to put myself in a situation, because we can say a lot of things of how that happened. And I will not blame the protesters for what happened in Monrepo, because I want the intellectual authors just like he wants them. And I hope he doesn't get charged for it when you charge the intellectual authors. But after he said that and the protesters took the walk down and this incident happened, the president's posture changed. He was no longer sitting on his couch making a statement, but he left the comfort of his home and he went to Monrepo to lull and speak to the persons who would have lost materials, their egg balls, etc. And I understand in these times it is very difficult to lose anything, because as we discussed earlier, the cost of living is way too high to lose even a little feather. So his supporters understand that too. And they decided as well that they were going to take the streets until he came out, and he came out for them. And then he took a walk to Buxton, where I would say he ventured there because he feels that he has a few people who will somehow shield him in that zone, because he couldn't go further on to Golden Grove to a day like today. He hasn't gone there. And he spoke to the persons there. He called people there a clown, etc., and all those things. But that posturing of itself tells you the heart and core of the government that claims one Guyana. And I just want all Guyanese. This is not about whether you're African, East Indian, Amerindian. This is about all Guyanese. The posturing of our government is, there is much to be desired from them. He compensated the persons in Monrepo for their damages, which were so-called created by mere protesters or citizens of the country. But to this day, he has not compensated the people of Golden Grove whose shops were shot up in the middle of the night by the police when it got dark, those that were broken into clearly. He has not even, he sent the prime minister there, they had a whole conversation and nothing has come of it. There has been no compensation. There have been private persons helping those people to get. So are you saying to us that the persons in Golden Grove who the state apparatus would have damage are not warranting compensation with taxpayers' dollars? But you can go to Monrepo and compensate people? No. They definitely need to put a check in themselves on these issues. And I hope, and the lady she was in Monrepo when that incident happened. She made a very important point, which I think as well provoked his action. She said that she lived better, the East Indian lady, under the coalition government. And she could have afforded more under the coalition government. And when asked and taunted by somebody in the area, but look what I do to our things. She said we had protests during the coalition time and this never happened. It is a serious question to be asked. Why did it then happen now? And it didn't happen then. And I think as Guyanese, we need to really pay attention, roll these things over in our heads, and understand the situation that we're in and the push that we need to make if our children will have a future in this country, because we haven't begun to speak of the oil curse. And these are our plights already. So I really hope that we can really tap in, talk more, deal with the core issues, and push for betterment for our country.
Thank you very much, my sister. And who says that we young people don't have fire in their belly? Certainly, we are seeing an example of that here tonight. And, we must feel good for our future going forward. Robin, let me bring you back in there. After Ms. Haynes' passionate presentation there, I think you will agree with me that you can just say amen.
Exactly.
And so on.
Exactly.
But yes, but you guys have been there on the streets. You all have been keeping the fire. That's what's been happening. As you give your own perspective on this question of whether the police has done enough and we should stop protesting and all that.
No, first of all, the systemic, how to put it, the systemic pattern of violence in Guyana has once again started. It's nothing new. This is history. Keeps on repeating itself. And the fact that the police and the government, the president, the Minister of Home Affairs, the Commissioner of Police, every person that is responsible for running this country in the right way, they have not at no way played the right role towards all of these killings, these judicial killings, these extrajudicial killings that has been happening in our country. We are out here protesting for Quindon Bacchus. We are calling for justice. We were promised a thorough investigation. The police came, they shoot up because they had to clear the road at all costs. They decided to charge the Nobrega, Simon, and McLennan, thinking that this would have wanted. As far as I'm concerned, they tried to get what we wanted or what they think we want. But we are not crying for partial justice. We never asked for partial justice. We never ask for a partial investigation. We ask for a thorough investigation. And a thorough investigation means that every person that was there, every person that played a part of that operation should have been charged. And tonight, it is sad to know that a whole new story has broken out, something that we never even knew of. That is bare corruption and racism, all of these things that is happening around this case, Quindon Bacchus case, is gonna even cause us to want to fight more. It's pushing us against the wall. It is causing us to want to really and truly start fighting now even harder. Because this is another son who will not ever get a chance to know his biological father. His father was murdered, and we're gonna say this over and over again. The killings, the kill that the black or the Africans or young men we are facing day in and day out has got to stop. And we are not satisfied with the way the investigation and the case is going. We are not satisfied with the way in which they are doing things. It's a disgrace, and it is embarrassing. It is embarrassing. It is a system that it just keeps reoccurring. It just keeps reoccurring. From Mr. Waddle from Mr. Crumb Ewing, from Shaka Blair back then. I don't know if you remember that case where he was shot in his bed, to Mr. Boston. Yes. Now you have Quindon Bacchus, who they were supposed to arrest. The order was given for him to be arrested, and it ended up being a murder. 5 bullets to the back and 2 to the chest. What is happening? How can we be satisfied with all of these killings? And it is only affecting our black or our African people, our African men. They are pushing us away. They are trying to end us. What about our tomorrow? And what more can we do? What more can we do? What more can we ask for? We're asking that the system, we're asking for a change. We are asking, and we're going to demand it, and we are demanding a change. Because we are not just any old people you just pick up and throw anywhere. Come on. It is a life. It's not somebody that fall from a tree. It is a life. And the Guyana Police Force, or these forces that is within the Guyana Police Force, who is making the old system, the old country looks bad. The government of the day is looking bad. And it's sad to know that they're not doing anything about it, because everybody can call in a favor. And everybody is their own right to protect, is their own friend. And cover up for this one and cover up for that one. And then you're putting our African brothers to face to face the bullets, because you know what, they were also a part of it. So let's sink them, and we can be free, and we can get promotion, and who can be promoted to this and promoted to that. And yet the people who are part, or who was a part of all of this that went down with Quindon Bacchus, they're still out there walking. So we're not going to stop. And we're going to be protesting for every other life that was lost at the hands of the Guyana Police Force. It's not only about Quindon Bacchus anymore. It is about racism. It is about equality. It's about every other brother that lost their lives or lose his life at the hands of members of the Guyana Police Force. And sad to know that the government of today is not doing anything about it, because you know why? They are a part of it.
Our sisters are really fired up here tonight. Before I go back to Shanika, I just want to wish my daughter, Abina, happy birthday. You're a wonderful daughter, and I want to publicly acknowledge your birthday. Today, I want to thank Ozia for his contribution to the emancipation activities in Buxton. Also, Philippa, who has contributed. The rest of you, please, if you can afford it, please contribute to helping to make our emancipation worthwhile this year, and to the people all over the country, all over Guyana, who are preparing to observe this emancipation anniversary. This is a special anniversary because of what's happening in the country, presently. The third of August, or the 2nd of August, is the day when the government was installed 2 years ago, and no doubt they will be quote unquote celebrating. And we think that on our side of the aisle, we should be not celebrating. We should be making a statement on that day. I have heard that something is being planned. Hopefully tomorrow I will get a representative from the opposition to come to tell us if they're planning something. But I feel very strongly on this program that day should not be a quiet day. We should not sit down and it's spoiled our emancipation 2 years ago. And we'll be celebrating emancipation anniversary on the 1st, and on the 2nd, we should make a statement about the imposition and the effect over the last 2 years. And I will try to get somebody from the opposition to come on tomorrow to tell us what's happening. Tomorrow I'll also be having the owner of the new bank, that merchant bank that was just launched, Mr. Floyd Hinds. He's going to be here tomorrow night to talk about the bank and how it can help Guyanese. So that's our headline tomorrow, but I'll try to find out from the opposition and have them come here tomorrow, somebody to say whether they're going to allow that day to pass quiet or they have something planned. So that's tomorrow. It's going to be a packed day. We're having Mr. Floyd Hinds and somebody from the opposition to tell us if they have anything planned. Janika, as we wind down to the end of the program, your closing thoughts, or is there anything that I didn't ask that you so want to talk about? That was the time.
What would I say as we close here today? I want to say that as Guyanese, we have to make a conscious effort to examine the situation that we currently find ourselves in. And we need to allow for something better to happen as Guyanese. And this cannot be done if, as a people, we don't come together and understand that the PPPC government does not care for all of Guyana in any form, fashion, or style. And if we are to progress in a nation who now has oil wealth, we need a government who will speak to all Guyanese and not just some, with their vision, plan, programs, and execution. I think that the current regime has showed us with the 2 largest budgets ever in Guyana that they have no plan on bettering this nation that we live for all, but rather to secure wealth for a very few. And this is our push, and it is my call as a young Guyanese And this is my call to young persons, to anyone who has an interest in this country that we live in and the future of this country, is that we need to hold this government accountable in every area that they serve or should serve. And when the time comes, we need to make a conscious decision that this is not just about politics. I know a lot of times people say, I don't want to get involved in politics. I don't like politics. It's not for me. But the truth of the matter is, whoever sits at the helm of a government affects every one of our lives in a great way daily. And if we are to survive in this country, we need to make a conscious decision to ensure that a government who sits in that seat is held accountable. And this stands as well if or when we get a change of government, that we hold that government accountable. And we should not be afraid, even if we elect a government into place, that we cannot speak to them. If they're not listening, we force them to listen by our actions. And that is the responsibility of every citizen in a country. And I implore all Guyanese at this time, we need to hold the PPP regime accountable for their actions, accountable for our resources, and accountable for everything that is going on currently. And when we put them out of government, we in turn as well do not allow our new government to trample on us, but we hold them as well accountable. And only then will Guyana see the benefit of all our resources: gold, diamond, bauxite, oil, aluminum, everything that we have, and most importantly, our human resources, which is the most critical resource that any country holds, when we hold them accountable. So it is my call tonight to every Guyanese at the sounding of my ears, whether in the diaspora or at home, that we need to hold the government accountable, and we need to put in place a government that will respond to the people and work for the people, and also hold them accountable.
Hold them accountable. Robin, your closing thoughts? Unmute. We're not hearing you.
Yes, I'm sorry about that. I am going to agree with my sister. Accountability is the word. If we start today, if all Guyanese start today by holding the government responsible for the things that are happening within this country, it will force the others who are coming to do right by the people of Guyana. And right now, we are going to fight for the rights and the good. We're going to fight for the good of Guyana, I should say. We're going to fight that for the police. The police needs to be reformed. They need to be held accountable for every wrongdoing. They back in the APNU, the coalition government a few years ago, you were not hearing about certain things because you know why? President Granger made it clear that they will be held accountable for any wrongdoings. They were afraid of losing their jobs. So you know what? They were very careful. So we have to fight for accountability. We have to come together as one and stand up for equality. There is no way we can continue to allow this government of today. We cannot allow them to treat us, to have this segregation amongst the people of this country. We are all Guyanese. This is our country. This is our home. We must be free and safe to move around. We must be able to go and fill our food baskets. We must be satisfied with what we bring in. We must be comfortable. Our children Our children must be happy. They must know that they can walk free and safe and don't have to worry about what is going to happen if they're out there, if things are not right. Can I go to the police? Can I go to, who can I talk to? So let's come together, guys. This is the time we need to come together and hold this government of today accountable for every wrongdoing that is happening within Guyana. That's all I have to say, Dr. Hinds.
And I want to thank you all so much. Dr. Hinds, please bring these three ladies on sooner rather than later. I concur, and they will be a regular feature on this program. Obviously, ladies, you have touched the right spot, and I like the last sentiment. When we change the government, we're not going to say our government is in now. We're going to say we hold you accountable because we are changing governance. That's what we want. Not just governance. And as I always say, that regardless of what they say about our programs here, we want to set an example for this country. All those who are out there supporting the PPP because they vote for the PPP and they don't care what the PPP do, we wish you stop doing that. But I want to say that I want to socialize our people, opposition supporters, to be an example to the rest of this country, to clean up the governance. And that means that when we elect a government that we vote for, we do not stop there. And since this is emancipation, let me say, I don't want Black people to be bad behaved. I don't want Black people to behave that we know when we get our government, it's going to be our time. No, we are going to be an example to this country. We are going to be an example.
Yes.
Thank you all so much for coming on.
Thank you.
The audience. I want to thank
you,
all
Dr. Hinds, for having us.
Thank you all so much. And
Thank
we
you.
will certainly bring the ladies back. And thank all those of you who have made your little contribution to the Buxton Emancipation celebrations this weekend. Tomorrow night, we're going to have Mr. Floyd Haynes of the New Haven Merchants Bank that was just launched. And we're going to have somebody from the opposition come on to tell us if they're planning anything for the anniversary of the installation of the government. And don't bother with those who are saying that I am vindictive because I answer a president who had the gall to call me names. You poke your finger in my eye, I poke my finger back in your eye. Because you're the president and you ought to know better. Good night, and I'll see you all tomorrow. Tomorrow night, we're going to be rocking